My name is Christine Kuhn, and I am a co-executive director at a nonprofit called Victory Garden Initiative based here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The term Victory Gardens actually comes out of World War I and World War II when there were severe food shortages around the world, particularly in America and Europe. At this time, many farmers were leaving their fields to go to war, and supply chains had been severely impacted by everything that was happening, and people were seeing that at home there wasn't as much food, and there definitely wasn't enough food to feed the troops, which was a huge issue. So governments had encouraged their citizens to plant gardens at home called victory gardens in order to fix the supply chain, to get more food out there for everyone. Our nonprofit, Victory Garden Initiative, began in 2008 when our founder wanted to encourage more food growing in the city of Milwaukee. She realized at the time that food security is not just a wartime effort. Food security is something that's critical to us at all the times. And unfortunately right now with coronavirus, we are seeing some of those impacts again. So right now, as we all know, everyone around the world is being impacted by coronavirus. And here at Victory Garden Initiative, we have a program every May called the Great Milwaukee Victory Garden Blitz. Now this program, it takes place for 2 weeks in May, and our staff and volunteers install over 500 raised garden beds throughout the city of Milwaukee. Obviously, with the safer at home orders that are going on, we've had to consider this program. And for us, we determined that because agriculture is always going to be an essential activity, that we felt it was important to continue on with the Blitz and continue installing these gardens. Since 2008, the first year that we did the Blitz, we've installed over 4,500 gardens, and each year we do about 500, and over 50% of those gardens go into low-income neighborhoods. So we are continuing forward with this Blitz with the hopes that we can get this infrastructure out there as quick as we can so that people can grow their own food and try to take back some of what's been happening during the coronavirus and take back some of their resiliency for that. So for us, we're also encouraging everyone out there to grow more food, especially right now during the pandemic. It's something that is safe for anyone to do. Most places are recognizing that outdoor activity is actually really good for us and has very low risk. So getting outside and gardening is something that's very, very important. Not only will it help families get the food that they need, but it's also good for our mental, physical, and social health as well. There are so many studies that have been happening in the past several years that are showing that getting outside, getting your hands in the soil is actually very therapeutic. It has benefits for our brain, benefits for our gut, benefit for our emotions. We've known this for a very long time. So we are definitely encouraging people to get out, get some sunlight, get their hands in the soil, and start growing food. What vegetable seeds are best to plant as new gardeners? One thing that I like to tell every new gardener is don't get too big and bold with your first garden. It's really common for people to get very, very excited about starting the garden, which it is a very exciting thing, but to overcompensate, to try to grow every single thing that catches their fancy. And this can get very overwhelming very fast. So I usually recommend that people sit down and they take stock of the things that they actually eat in their everyday lives right now. And those are the types of crops that you want to start with. You don't want to start with crops that you've never actually worked with in the kitchen before, because usually that just ends up with more food waste. So things like any of your leafy greens, your spinaches, your kale, those are really easy things to grow, as well as root crops. So radish, potato, carrots, turnips, beets, those types of things do pretty well. And you can also do beans, peas, cucumber, and I'm sure there's a couple other I could think of as well. Those are all crops that are going to be pretty quick growing and pretty low maintenance. Every year we install these raised garden beds throughout Milwaukee, and we try to provide the bed and all the things that a gardener is going to need to get started. Our staff and volunteers install those gardens where they are asked for. So we can put them in backyards, places of worship, schools, apartment complexes, vacant lots, community gardens. We did one on a rooftop once. So really anywhere that you have permission to plant one, we can install a garden. So Also with that garden, we give everyone their own Move Grass Grow food sign. This year with coronavirus, we are not prioritizing those signs. It takes a lot of work to get the lumber cut and to build them and paint them, so we will get those out once all of this passes at the end of the summer. So you get the bed, the soil, a sign. We also provide 10 pretty common seed packets, so those normal things like carrots and lettuce and spinach and beans and peas, and a couple other things in there. And those are donated from Steins every year, which is really great. We get to give all those free seeds. So this is a program that takes place every year. We are still intending to do this year with coronavirus. We've made a lot of changes as a staff, and we've pulled back on our large volunteer groups. So usually it ends up in the 2 weeks in May. This year it's going to be a little bit in April, a little bit in May, maybe a little bit in June, but we're going to try to get every single one of those garden beds out there so that people can grow their own food. I also just wanted to mention that we do have a 1.5 acre urban farm that is in Harambe. It's the entire center of a city block, and it's super exciting this year. We have 2 new farm staff who are out there full time, and our new farm manager, is super excited about starting up more officially our Pay What You Can roadside farm stand and our free community U-Pick. So our farm being in the Harambe neighborhood, this is a community that's very low income. There's a lot of segregation. There's a lot of families that are using SNAP and WIC programs, and we want to make sure that the food that we're producing is getting to these neighbors. So that's why we have these Pay What You Can and U-Pick models. Some people can come to the farm stand and they can afford to spend $20, $30 on the produce, and that allows us to give produce away to free for a family in need. So for anyone who is watching, you can definitely come to the farm. Right now with social distancing, we are not taking volunteers, but our staff are out there, and it is a public green space that we operate it that way, so you can feel free to take a stroll and see what's happening and talk to the farmer from a distance about what's going on. You can also still buy a Blitz Garden bed. That is a great way to get involved, and we would love to get that to you. You can sponsor a bed, so if you don't want one in your yard, or you don't have space, or you're already growing food, you can sponsor one so that a family that can't afford one can get one, or you can simply donate. So you can donate money on our website, or you can check out our wish list for different supplies and things that we need for all of these programs. So we're a very grassroots organization. We've only got 6 of us, and 2 of us are part-time, so any help is always appreciated.